What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Next Win podcast with your host, Aunt Ma, co-host Justin Fasur, and our special lender, our buddy that I love having here so much, and I'm sure Justin does too.
Yep, I love coming out here. Thank you.
His name is Mr. William Wynn. Hey, we never told everybody what company you work for as a lender.
I know I mentioned it. I can't. Right? Cross Country Mortgage.
Cross Country Mortgage. Are they one of the best in the nation? Are you guys small?
The biggest retail mortgage lender in the nation.
That's crazy, guys. So we have one of the most biggest lenders here with us. Every single time William's here, he represents them, and that's who we have. That's why we love doing this podcast with him, because we get a lot of facts from him, okay? And a lot has happened in the last couple months, guys. But before I get to that real quick, if you guys are new to this podcast, all right, you guys must subscribe on all podcast platforms. We're talking about on YouTube especially, okay? Then we got Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify. What else, Justin? Am I missing some? Damn, you're yawning already?
Damn.
When we're trying to tell people to subscribe, you're yawning?
Wow.
Why would you point to me when I'm yawning,
Wow.
dude?
Damn.
That's messed up.
Oh, man.
What was the question?
Where else can people subscribe to our podcast?
Do we name all of them?
Just everywhere, yes.
everywhere.
Everywhere.
Spotify, everywhere.
Anywhere you listen to a podcast, guys, just type in Next Win Podcast. You'll find us. So subscribe, comment on it, like it, so we can keep doing this for you, because there's a lot of golden gems in our episodes that
Yep.
I hope you guys, it sticks with you,
Yep.
And then we're also on Instagram and TikTok. So make sure you guys follow us on those. And if you have a new phone and can't download the TikTok app, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
But they are selling on eBay for 20 grand if you want to do that.
Damn.
Just to
That's
support
important,
us. All right. Just to support us. Okay. So, in the last few months, guys, Trump has become president.
President Trump.
And there's a lot of things that's been going on in terms of like what he's going to do with the housing market. How has him being the president changed things? Because I remember last year, a lot of people said, I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold off to buy a home to see what happens with the elections.
Yeah.
Well, they've been saying that every year for the past 5 years.
Right. So here we are. Election is over. We got the president. And what's going on? How is this changing the housing market? Right. All right. So President Trump said that he's going to make the rates go back down to 3%.
Nope.
You don't think that's going to happen?
As a lender and spending 15 years in investment banking. No.
Well, here's the thing. Did he say when?
All right. I'll give you that.
Okay, but why do you say no? And like,
because something crazy has to happen, like another huge recession.
A recession?
Yeah, a huge recession. It won't drop down to 3%.
Okay.
The last time that happened, we had the pandemic, and everything shut down. That's the only reason why it went down to 3%. Historically, mortgage rates have been around 4 to 6%.
damn. What do you think, Justin? Will it ever get to 3%?
I hope so.
I know you hope so, because you got a brand new home and you're trying to refi.
Damn. But you got a good rate already, dude. So,
But what do you think? You think Trump can do it?
Can he do it? I don't know. There's a lot of things that like they're supposed to be taking out, like cleaning up the whole system or whatever. Right. So how would that affect? Like if things are operating at an optimal state now versus like the last few years where things are kind of crazy, like would the interest rates go down? Or
I don't even understand politics, to be honest.
yeah.
I don't even understand, like, how can a president say it'll get down to 3%? Does he just sign something and now we're automatically at 3%?
No.
How does this work?
No, he can say it. Anyone, any politician would say something to get you to do something. But on the back end, it takes a lot longer. For example, a presidency with all their new changes, we won't see the effect in about 2 years into their term. So he can do all this, but it has to go through different approvals. Like he just can't sign anything and make it law, right? He has to go.
Well,
to
he's signing a lot of executive orders.
The executive order doesn't mean nothing. The last time he went into office, he signed 200, and none of them went through. So
how? Because a lot of this stuff that's going on right now is actually happening.
Yeah, so it depends on what it is, but the bigger stuff like lowering groceries.
Yeah. So what is all this? How does this work? So At what point does it help us in the economy to buy homes, refinance our rates? You know, is it like when they try to lower gas prices, when they try to lower groceries, when they try to add tariffs to Canada and Mexico? Like, what does that do for the economy? Does it hurt? Does it help?
If the tariffs kick in, it will hurt the economy, which will help interest rates.
It will hurt the
Interesting.
economy.
Yeah, interest rates will do well when there's a recession.
Because essentially everything goes up
Yeah.
because the cost comes from somewhere.
Yeah, so they have to lower their interest rate so they can make everyone affordable, get the economy going again. So
Why do you think the interest rates will go down? Because tariffs are now in place and everything went up higher.
because if there's a recession, everyone will be invested in bonds, right? So bond prices, bond yields, because everyone's investing in it, goes down. So they won't be paying back the yields. It's a lower yield, meaning the interest rate will go lower. The mortgage interest rates are tied to the 10-year treasury, right? So let's say if the market is doing good, no one's investing in the bonds, which means the bonds will be like, all right, we'll give you a higher yield, so people try to invest in it. So that's why the interest rates are high, because no one's investing in it, right? But if the market is doing bad, per se, like because of the recession, because if there's a recession, no one wants to invest in the stock market, right? Which means everyone's going to bonds, which is a safer investment.
Yeah.
So that means when there's too much people buying it, they want to lower the interest rate because they'll go broke paying a lot of this interest out. So when those yields go down, mortgage interest rates go down. It's just that's how it's tied into.
So are you eating your own words now? Because when Trump said he'll bring the rates down to 3%, and he's adding all these tariffs and all these things that's going to affect the rates to go down, why wouldn't it reach 3% then?
Because I don't see it going. I mean, it could, but I don't see it in the near future.
What do you see?
I see it staying where it is right now, unless I see big changes. Because he's saying all these things, but nothing. It has to go to Congress. The Fed has to approve stuff. So we have to see in action, and it takes time for all that to trickle down to the economy.
So what we've seen since before Trump took over, right? The rates were going down, right?
Before Trump won, rates were going down.
Right. And now that he's president, it went back up.
Because
right?
everyone started putting money in the markets.
Okay. And so what do you see the rates happening for the rest of the year? Right now it's kind of volatile because things have changed.
Yeah,
right?
It hasn't been too volatile because people are still kind of like sitting back and seeing what all he says really sticks, like really is going to happen, and then they kind of decide.
Whoever,
in my opinion,
I feel like it doesn't even matter who the damn president is.
It does
right?
not matter.
Whatever happens, like whenever there's someone new, something changes, right? So now that everything has changed, now we're going into like a steady, consistent mode. Everything's flowing for the rest of the year into next year. What do we see the rates becoming? Do we see it just staying like this? Do we see it going on a little bit downhill, or do we see it going up a little bit?
I see it's, at least for the first half of the year, staying where it's at now, maybe going up and down a little bit. And then depending on the reactions of the other countries of Trump's new policies, we will see what direction goes at the end of the year.
So, what's so funny, Justin?
Nothing.
What's so funny?
It's just crazy, right? We're living in a
it's
crazy world right now.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
But because there's so many moving parts to it.
Yeah.
No one can predict it. No one can predict it.
For example, when you're talking about other moving parts, right? Here's something that's important. The Feds said they were going to cut rates this year, and then something else came out. The Feds will now pause the rate cuts. This has nothing to do with the president, right? This is something totally different.
Yeah, just the data from the economy.
And so now what's going to happen with the Feds pausing rate cuts? What does this do to our housing market, guys? What does this do for you who can't refi, Justin, on your brand new home? You're hoping to refinance at some point. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm not thinking too much of it, just because like we put ourselves in a position where we can afford it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But obviously, if we get that opportunity to refinance, then we'll jump on it.
Just more money in
So-
your pocket. After
Yeah.
that.
So you don't care if the rate cuts are paused.
No.
You're chilling.
Yeah, I'm chilling.
Chilling,
See, guys,
chilling.
That's why when people are scared of interest rates and things like that, and they don't want to buy a home, Justin was able to put himself in a really good position where it don't matter. He's good.
Yeah, most of the time, like I'm working a file now, right? The loan's low and the interest rates jump up. I give it multiple options, and when people talk interest rate, they get scared because you see the different numbers.
Yeah.
But you have to look at the payment, like the payment difference between her situation, her scenario was
Yeah.
like $40 a month from between the rates. So I was like, you really want to, you don't. That's why you don't concentrate on the rate. You want to concentrate on your monthly payment, and if you're comfortable with that,
Yeah.
yeah. So that way,
I mean, to a certain extent, the rate does affect.
yeah,
Right.
depending on
Because like
the
if you go from 6.9 to 5.7, that's pretty significant.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It depends on how much loan you have. So if you have a $200,000 loan, like some houses out here, like a small loan, that jump won't be a big difference. That jump would be $40 versus a loan of $800,000. Then that's a big jump, like a couple $100. Yeah, so situational. It depends. That's why everyone's situation is different, and we just got to talk about it
So-
individually.
I like having this talk because as a realtor here, I've noticed a lot of things happening right now in this Q1 of 2025 in the housing market, guys. I've noticed that it's picking back up. Okay. We talk about how the rates creeped up a little bit. They went back up. William, what are the rates right now? Are we in the sevens?
We're hovering 7, right below 7, and right above 7. So just
Okay.
back and forth.
So that's pretty high, guys, right? And then we have the Fed saying they're pausing rate cuts, right? This is probably back in 2022. And 2021, people were saying, I'm going to hold off a little bit. I'm going to wait to buy a home and hope the rates go down. Well, hey, guys, they did go down and now they're back up. But now in this Q1, especially, in February here, I do see a lot of people coming out of the woodworks and they're now buying homes. Me and William have so many clients reaching out to us right now to buy a home in LA, in Vegas, and it's crazy. I don't know how much longer people can be waiting. There's a lot of you guys on the sideline saying, I'm going to keep waiting. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, it just,
The cost is going to go up, the house prices.
did you guys learn anything in the last 4 years when people said they're going to wait?
Yeah, I think that's a difficult like comparison to make, or like because back in 2021, people were losing their jobs. You know what I mean? Like businesses were shutting down, all that stuff, and really the only people that bought houses were people that had money at that time.
The rates were like 3.5% to 4% in 2021. 2022 it was still 4%, creeping on 4 to 4.5% in 2022, and people were like, "Man, 4.5%. I'm gonna wait for it to go back down." And in 2023, it went to 5%. You know what I mean?
But that's good. That's a good thing that you brought up, though. Like people are losing jobs, but in the grand aspect of things, like there are so many people that still had jobs and had money waiting. And that's why the housing market still blew up. Like people are losing jobs, but people are still buying houses because those people are just waiting on the sidelines. Like these clients are just waiting on the sidelines.
But now
It's
they're
time to
ready.
buy.
Now
Yeah.
they're ready, and
Yeah.
it's at the highest rate it's
Yeah.
been in the 4
And,
years.
and houses cost a lot.
and there's no idea on when they're gonna go back down
Mm-hmm.
right now. And there's so many people like, you know what? I'm gonna buy right now.
Yeah, they're realizing it now. The waiting is not worth it.
Aren't they saying that they're going to open up like federal land and stuff too for housing?
You're talking about in specific areas like Vegas?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, they have. There are builders who bought more vacant land that wasn't available before, so that the federal government did release land to people here in Vegas, and they're going to keep building.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does that affect pricing? Does that affect pricing at all if there's more availability?
Yes, as there's more inventory, it gets easier for people to buy a home, right? when there's low inventory, it's harder to buy home where it becomes competitive, and then that's where you get bidding wars and prices go up, and you just see now every home goes up and up and up to match that. But when you have more homes that are being developed, you're able to kind of, there's a home for you, a home for you.
So it
Everyone
seems
can
like
buy a
we're
home.
in a-
supply and demand.
Yeah, it seems like we're in a position where the market's stabilizing.
Depends on the area.
Kind
though.
of. So there's a lot of moving parts to this, just like what William said. Everything has a lot of moving parts. And now the builders can control the market if it can be going up or down, right? And when they buy the land from the government and they're going to develop these homes, they may not be building homes for your budget for everybody between 500 and a mil. They might take this land and be building $2 million type of real estate homes. Okay. If these homes cost $2 million for people, that means that everywhere that's neighboring that area will appreciate as well, and then that means prices are going up. So it's really hard to say if there's more homes available, will prices be stabilized? If there,
Well, I think I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Trump said something about that. Like we're going to open up federal land for more affordable housing and things like that. So,
right. But who's going to control the builder and tell them to build a 600K
Yeah.
home? They might be like, no,
We buy
I'm
it.
building a $1.8 million home.
Once they buy the land, that's their land. So they're like, I'm gonna buy it. We're just gonna sit on it.
but I thought certain, like for example, when you look at the Las Vegas like master plan or whatever it is, you do see like developments where it's like more affordable housing and things like that. So I'm just curious if like things are designated, like in order to buy that land, you have to build affordable housing kind of thing.
I think there's like a percentage that you
yeah.
have to do it, but it's like a small percent.
It's like right now in Summerlin South, they just got more land and they're building nothing but luxury homes. And it's like 5 builders building homes that cost at least minimum 1.8 mil.
Isn't KB building there? They're
No.
building like $600,000 homes.
$600. I'm
The
buying
Summerlin
that.
South one, they're doing this in Southwest. They are, but not in the area of this new area that we toured together, Justin. Those are
Oh
really
yeah, of
expensive
course.
homes.
That's
That's what
the
I'm talking about, though.
but
And
that's not the majority of the market though.
then
That's like little that patch. They're
I
not
think- I
building $2-3 million homes in
It might be
North
like the
Vegas.
zoning. 'Cause it might
No,
be the zoning,
but-
right? Sometimes the zonings are there's already that, and they count that towards that, affordable housing.
So, for example,
like how does that affect the whole market where it's just that specific area versus
Because it raises the prices of everyone else around.
in Summerlin?
Yeah.
because that's now new comps
In Summerlin.
Yeah.
in Summerlin South.
Yeah,
so
it depends
now
on
when
the
you talk
area.
about Summerlin West, where they got new land from the government, okay,
And then they build
they're-
KB homes.
They're building KB homes, but they're 600 to 700K townhomes. They're not single family homes, so they're still overpriced for what it is, right? When they also opened up, a couple other builders opened up in Summerlin West, everyone was like, "Yes, more homes for us," but they're building some expensive homes out there. So now those people are like, "Oh shit, it's not for us." You know what I mean? So
Kind of, because that's very situational. That's the area code that you're
right.
speaking of. So like you're talking about a small area of Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
whereas like the whole city, there's like for example in Northwest, most of the homes are like 500,000, 400,000,
Right, but you-
600,000.
But the key here is you're talking about was the new land that was bought. Right now in the Northwest, they're not buying new land. That's just land they've had.
No, they're buying new land.
And
there.
they're buying the land, but it's not the government's land. It's land from people, from whoever bought the land a long time ago.
Yeah.
They're buying those lands and they can build 500K homes over there. But what you're talking about is buying government land that's being released and then taking advantage of those.
A lot of those government lands are like far, like
There,
far
it's just
further than-
the government land stuff is the stuff that's like, once you run out of space and it gets closer to the mountain, they're buying those lands.
Yeah. Because that's where I camp and stuff. those government lands.
They're taking away from the nature that wasn't supposed to be
Yep.
sold.
Because there's a lot of land out here that are privately owned.
So
Like people bought like when they're back in the days. I'm putting like $10,000. Someone's gonna build here.
Right.
I hope.
there's a lot of land on Las Vegas Boulevard that's vacant right now.
So you're saying that opening up the land does not stabilize the market because they're building the $2 million homes.
They
Open
It's-
up the land
it's-
depending on what the builder does. That's
Right.
it. We don't have control of that.
it's supposed to stabilize the market, but the developers are
Greedy.
creating something where it's not helping.
Yeah.
It's helping a different demographic.
You don't think they would make more money if there's more people that are able to buy $500,000 homes versus 2 million?
That depends on their data.
Yeah.
Especially if they're buying government land that's closer to the mountain, and then they're creating elevations that makes it higher.
Costs
So
more.
now they have strip views, they have mountain views. They ain't gonna give you a 500K home with that type of amenity. You know what I mean? So there's things that they can mimic instead of having a 500K home in this one area in this lot. They'll probably use that area to build a pool and a community gym for that community to add value to the entire area. You know what I mean? There's just so many things they can do to mimic this.
We should find like a developer and
Yeah, there's a lot to it. You know what I mean?
talk
So
to them about it.
the market is crazy right now. You know, if they develop homes out of people's price ranges, then there's still a low inventory for the normal people. And so I feel like
It's just in my opinion, there's just a lot of greedy people out there. For example, like with the fires back in the SoCal, like do you think they're lowering rent? They're increasing rent by like 200%.
yeah, how does a wildfire affect housing?
Cost of materials, because they're now everyone's using those materials to build new houses there. So everything supply and demand. So those wood will go up. So it's going to affect the new builds here.
I feel like it's a long time before they start rebuilding those areas because I just saw videos of people are now going back to their homes
Yeah,
that have
it's
been
pretty
burned
bad.
down, and it's been 3-4 weeks, and there's still smoke coming out of the ground.
One of my friends
You
lost
know?
their house.
It's crazy. So like the amount of cleanup and then to make sure it's safe from chemicals and stuff, it's a long time before they can build. So I don't know.
They might do it fast. Depends on the city.
Yeah.
In Pasadena, I think they want to rebuild fast. So it sucks, but
So, like, aren't home prices kind of going down right now?
Certain areas.
yeah,
And in certain areas, they are going up. So your metropolitan areas, right? We're talking about Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Miami. These places, they're just always going up. There's too many people in those areas.
yeah.
Right?
I've been waiting in my area.
Right. Now, areas that are still developing, we're talking about like Arizona, Vegas, Texas, these places, Tennessee, Nashville,
Georgia.
they are all still developing. And so prices are still those drop here and there. They may drop for a month, and then the next month it goes back up, and then it drops again for a month, and then it goes back up. It's really weird. Yeah.
They have a lot of playroom. Those the builders, dude. Depends on what they want to do.
So I think this is where a lot of people are saying, oh man, fuck the housing market. I just want to rent. I don't want to buy a home. And a lot of people are saying it's better to rent right now than to buy a home. Like, what do you guys think about that? Is it better to rent or is it better to buy?
Depends, because renting can be a problem. Like if there's that's what happened in SoCal where there's a fire. Now rent's like freaking $4,000, $5,000, $6,000.
Yeah, but they can move somewhere else,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but people don't want to move. That's the problem too.
That's their choice.
Yeah.
Right? They
Yeah.
can move to somewhere more affordable.
Yeah.
You
Some-
can.
Yeah, and I have a client that I'm trying to work at us, but she makes a lot of money, doctor, but she wants to rent because she want to worry about fixing the house. She didn't want to worry about buying a new washing machine.
Yeah.
She just wants to go live and then go out and work. Don't have to worry about the housing.
Do you think someone like that doesn't want to buy a house and have her money appreciate because she has no one to share money with? Does she not have a family? Does she not have kids? Does she not?
Yeah, actually, she's single.
There you go.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people are like, I'm gonna rent because I don't need to spend all my money to buy a home, and it's every situation is different.
Yeah.
Just like what
Yeah.
William's saying, this person's a doctor.
Yep.
They got tons of money, and if they bought a house and let it appreciate, who are they going to share the money with? Who's they going
Yeah.
to leave it to?
Yeah.
Nobody, right? They don't have a family. So who are these people saying renting is better? It's the opposite demographic of you.
Yeah,
I
I think
see
a
that.
lot of people also, I feel like the people that are saying that think they have an idea. So like they always like, oh, you can earn more money if you just invest all that money. I'm like, most people don't even know how to invest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most people lose their money. So it's like, if you want to go the safe route, just buy a home. You know what I
Right.
mean?
That's true.
That's very true. There's like you said, they don't know how to invest, but the ones that do know how to invest, that are in it from like minute to minute, reading graphs and know all this stuff,
They can make money.
yeah, they're not going to buy anything but investments.
Securities.
They're going to sell their car to buy
Yeah.
more investments.
Yeah. They'll take
You
out.
know?
I have people take out a second mortgage to buy investments.
Yeah. But these are very, very special people. That's not normal.
Right.
Normal is buying a home, and as you sleep there, you make money off your home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's one advice now, as I'm 41 now.
Mhm.
I tell these young kids that, because I work with, I'm like, you know what? The important thing is to build wealth, and make a foundation, meaning buy a house. Right?
Yeah.
Once you have that house under you, you're good.
Yeah, I think the question really is just like how much you're paying in insurance, how much you're paying in taxes and all that stuff, and interest rate and all that. Because like at the end of the day, like when you let's say if you don't do any extra payments, right? You buy a $500,000 home, over the lifetime of the loan, you're paying like 1.2 million or some crap. You know what I mean? But so is that worth the investment if like the equity is 1.2 million? You basically broke even. You know what I mean?
But you didn't lose it on rent.
But what happens? A lot of people don't.
You get your money back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not making someone else rich.
So here's a question. Like, this is why I love having Justin on our podcast. Okay. He is proof of living experience of the general demographic
Yeah.
of normal people.
Yeah, because
okay?
we're talking about as a
And
professional. So
as Justin being the normal person, like all of you guys who are listening, okay, then that includes me. I'm a normal person. William's a normal person. Okay. Before Justin wanted to buy a house, he was so skeptical.
Yeah.
He was like, I want to rent because after I pay all the interest of buying a house, I paid way more than I should have. So why would I buy a house? And so his mindset was always to just rent. And at some point it switched and he bought a house, And so what changed to make you do that, Justin? Because you were like everyone else. I should rent, not buy. And now you
I
flipped.
mean, I did see both perspectives. Like I can see, like even before then, that was the reason why I even was looking into buy a home.
Yeah.
Because obviously people are making money off it. Obviously people like to make those investments, and it's,
But what did you say? In 30 years, wouldn't it be more than what, like you'd be paying more interest
yeah.
than
I remember you said that.
actually making money?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, and I know my personal goals, so I already have a plan of like, okay, let's beat the interest rate, So it's like, I don't want to give people my money, you know what I mean? So it's like if we can spend, or if we can pay more and then spend less on like on the interest rate, then we're gonna do that. But like the cool thing is that you do gain that equity, And so if you're able to figure out a plan to beat the interest rate or whatever the case may be, then you get that equity, especially short term, like in the next couple years, like if it goes up 100 grand or something like that, or 70 grand, I'm pretty sure we don't spend that much in interest, so we actually make money over those years, but I don't know.
That's awesome to hear, because I remember before you were so stressed out on like, wait, but that's so much more interest that I'm paying.
Yeah, I think the idea behind that was like you're getting sold this like American dream kind of thing, and so now you're like stuck working your whole life, making this other company money, and that's a difficult part, because like people are getting sold on this idea of like, oh, you're a homeowner, and but now you actually became a slave to the financial companies,
Yeah,
in a
so
sense.
it just depends on everyone perspective, you know,
Mhm.
like what they want to do. Some people don't look that far, like you do.
Mhm.
Like, I'm just gonna I have a house now. I'm just gonna live. You know,
You know, a lot of people don't understand this, and this comes from experience of, you know, owning 3 homes now. Um, what hurts is when you see how much interest you paid over 30 years, right? 200, 500,000, 700,000 more than what you should have, right? And that hurts when you look at that. But what people don't see is in 2 years or in 5 years, your home made you $400,000. And what you can do with the extra $400,000 that you just made from that house, what you can do with that American dream that you've always wanted to do. Not even thinking about the 30 years of spending all that the interest that flew out the window. But now, all of a sudden, in 5 years, you got $400,000 in your pocket if you want to cash that out. Damn. Now you can start a business. Now you can invest in something. I don't know. Now you can sell your home and buy another home.
that's what they say.
You know what I mean?
It takes money. It takes money to make money.
People don't understand the short term of owning a home and the big money you get from that. To do what you want with your life is the key. Okay. To do what you want with your life with that short term money. That is way better than having that mentality of, damn, in 30 years, I gave the bank an extra $400,000, you know?
Yeah, you just gotta spend money to make money. That's the whole saying of that, right?
So a lot of people,
I'm paying like what X% of interest there, but I can use the equity of 200,000 to make more money, to kind of balance it out.
to offset it.
Yeah,
right?
offset it.
So I don't know. People don't get to see those things because one, no one tells them.
Yeah,
Well, most people aren't thinking that way. either.
Exactly.
yeah.
You know
No
what
one
I
tells
mean?
them.
So it's like,
They're not exposed to it.
Why are they
Exposure.
not thinking that way?
They're not exposed
because
to it.
I mean, me personally, like I've thought about that way, and I feel like, for what? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of people want to live a simple life.
Yeah.
You know, they're not. They're not going to be.
doctor.
Yeah, they're not going to be this like, oh, I want to build this big ass business and, you know, have millions of dollars. Like most people just, you know, want to have a house, have a family, and go on vacations.
So
So it's like, that's why they don't think about like that kind of stuff.
I totally agree with that. And I think to a certain extent, it needs to be thought about for the person who just wants to do the bare minimum for their life. So the one that just wants to live their life, you know, and have a family and not buy a business, you got to think about it. If you made 400 grand or 200 grand and you had this family, and in 18 years, your kid has to go to college and then your second kid has to go to college and you got to buy them cars or help them out, you know, that equity that you made from your house that you can pull out will help them for college. If not, if you're this normal person and now your kids have to go through, you know, that grow up phase, how much harder do you have to work? And now age 50, age 60, you're like, fuck, my kid's going to college. They need cars. They need insurance. They're still living at my house. Damn, dude, you going to work till you're 80 then?
I mean,
Or,
it's the same thing.
you know?
You're pulling out that loan.
Yeah,
You got to
but
figure out how to make that money.
But it's a lot of people do that, but it's a lower rate than a credit card, right? You're putting out the extra cash for what 5%, right? So
I mean, or you just sell your house and then move into another house that's cheaper.
yeah,
And you got all that cash instead of having it as a loan.
Yeah.
It's only a loan because you kept the house. You can sell it.
How about the people that got low interest rates? They're sitting on this equity, but they don't want to go into a house that
See,
has
that's-
7%.
yeah. That's a mindset that needs to change because yeah, you're saving money every month with 2%. Like people hold on to that. I'm paying 2%. I'm paying 2%. But if you pay 7% and use the equity from that house, you can make double that, right? Because you're just so afraid of like I got losing this 2% rate. You don't realize that hey,
Well,
if I get this cash out and pay 7% now, I can make 15% with that cash. So, yeah.
Well, I'm
Can't be
saying
stuck in
like
that rate.
if they were to like for example, right now, let's say one of my homies has like a 2,500 square foot house, right? He bought it for hella cheap. If he were to buy the same house right now, not only would the interest rates be higher, but the price of the house would be higher.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like he's not really.
So that's
Well,
situational.
that doesn't even make sense. Someone who has that great of a thing, why would they buy the same thing? They don't.
No,
They upgrade. Or they move somewhere else. They have a different lifestyle or
no, we're
different
talking about
situation.
downscaling, like how you just said.
Oh, well, they
Oh.
don't need to.
Hmm.
That's why they're staying there. They don't need to downsize.
People would downsize normally if there's a benefit. Like my uncle, they had a huge house in the Bay Area. My cousins grew up and they went to college, so they downsized, but they had a lot of equity, so they sold it, paid that next house cash, and still had extra just to hang out. And then that house built equity, and then now their kids are coming back, so they'll buy a bigger house. So the cash they had, they're investing in. They sold this house, and then used that and the investment to buy a bigger house. So it's just
So
process.
most people who downsize, okay, they're not downsizing. They're downsizing their lifestyle, right? Or they're trying to downsize so they can have cheaper payments. Now, if the current house they have at a 2 point something percent interest rate and they got so much, this is a really cheap house for them, downsizing doesn't make sense in terms of getting lower monthly payments because they have the best, right? But if they want to downsize because the house is too big, so like what William was saying was that you need to sell the home and buy the next one cash. So you're not paying a high rate, or a huge down payment. You know what I mean? So everything is possible. I just don't think people understand all the options that they have and they don't have someone helping them. And that's the biggest problem that we have here is there's not enough people helping to figure out all these different structures for people.
I
Right.
think it's just exposure.
Yeah, everyone's situation is different.
Yep.
Everyone that's listening right now, your situation is different from mine, Justin's, Williams, and the other person that's listening.
Yep.
Not one person is the same.
Mhm.
So you guys, it's hard to follow people when they say, this is better, that's better. I don't know. Do they know your finances? Do they know your lifestyle? I don't know. It's all different.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like we're getting more people from Cali moving over here, or has it slowed down? Or
I do not see people moving here from California. What I have is people from other states moving here.
because they were saying something about the fires are going to make more people move over here. This and
Yeah.
that.
I'm really deep into real estate in LA, and I know a lot of people have lost homes, and zero of those people said I'm moving to Vegas. The only people that said LA wildfire victims are moving to Vegas are people living in Vegas, and they have no clue what's going on in LA.
Or the media.
People in LA are finding homes in LA. I have people looking for homes in LA. I have people who got free housing in LA. I got people moving to San Diego. They're just moving to other areas of California. No one's saying, I'm going to go move to Vegas, But there's people from out of state. We have a client right now that's from Seattle that's currently moving here to Vegas.
Hawaii.
Hawaii.
What are the reasonings? Do you know? Or is there a commonality between everybody? Or
One is they want a cheaper lifestyle, right? They want cheaper groceries, cheaper gas. So they're moving to our state here in Nevada. Then other people are saying, well, I also love the weather. The number one thing is the weather. They're like, I can't afford LA, but I can afford Vegas, and the weather is similar. I'm moving out of Seattle because I want more sun. I want the sun. It rains all the time in Seattle. Then you got people in Hawaii who are like, I still want sun. So that's why Vegas is still a good choice,
Because the weather is not that much different anymore in SoCal. Like people are saying, why are you going to Vegas? It's hot. I go, no, well, it's good. It's kind of hot in SoCal now too with the weather.
It is exactly.
It's freaking
yeah,
hot.
I know.
it does get hot.
Yeah,
there.
so it's like it's like the same thing. Like I've been here so many times. Like this is my second home. It's the weather's the same. It gets colder here. I like it. So
It's funny because our degree difference here from Vegas to LA is like 10 degrees difference,
Yeah.
right? If it's 100 in LA, it's 110 in Vegas, right? And I tell people, hey, when it's 100 in LA, it's already hot as fuck.
yeah,
We're already in the AC at home or AC
Yeah,
in our
yeah.
car.
Not gonna do
It's the
nothing.
same thing.
just a little bit more humid
yeah.
out there.
Yeah, so
Arizona heat's different.
yeah, that's burning. The sun is burning.
That's different though. So,
That's that habanero.
Yeah.
That's that ghost pepper.
So
The one chip challenge.
I don't know.
I've done that.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have. I have a video too.
What? I want to see it.
Should we do a one chip
Hell no.
challenge on the
Hey, yo,
podcast?
Hell
comment below
no.
if you want us to do a one chip challenge.
I'll die.
That
bro.
means we have to talk for the rest of the podcast.
I'm down.
doing
I've
that.
done it. I've done a whole hour, no drink.
But who wants to listen to us slur the whole time?
I don't know. That's why. Comment down below.
I would probably like literally die. My stomach would probably kill
I would
me.
probably throw up. You guys want to hear us throw up through a microphone? I don't think so. That'd be the clearest throw up you ever hear.
That's that.
It's
What do
not
you
that
call
bad,
it?
dude. It's like the first 5 minutes is bad.
Nah.
No.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, yeah.
That's not the one chip challenge.
I
then.
did the one chip challenge.
No, it's supposed to be your shit hurts for
No,
3 days.
You know why? This is my theory because I thought that was gonna happen to me, but it didn't because you should hurt because you eat a lot of that. It's just one chip, and I was like, I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready. No, nothing happened because it's like that one chip didn't do anything. It burned your mouth for like 10 minutes, right? But once you get that past that 10 minutes, you're good, dude.
I ate a
You should just
really
try it.
spicy pepper one time on camera, and you guys can probably search
I
it on
remember that.
YouTube.
That's that.
But I threw up, and when I was throwing up, it felt like fire was coming out of me when I was throwing up. Like it was bad, and I didn't eat it excess. I took like a bite of something.
So yeah, no. I mean, I'm down.
Ah, man, fuck you guys.
We'll think about it.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening to this 2025 update on what we think is going to be going on this year. There's a lot of scenarios that we played out, and I hope it helped you guys make a decision on what you want to do, or at least push you one step forward. Okay, that's what we're here for. We're here to help you guys figure out how to get your next win. Okay, on anything, and this episode kind of was taking you guys there. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow us on all podcast platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio. Then we got Instagram and TikTok. All right, guys. So please support us. We're here to help you. So help us, and we'll see you guys next time on the Next Win podcast.
Bye.